Okay, so here's my hot tub and I'm draining it for the winter. It's about 40 degrees out right now. And you don't want to thermally shock it by ramping the temperature too fast. I know this from experience because I had a tub with more of a plastic, with an older one, had more of a plastic tub. But I pulled the lid off and drained it really fast. And it was probably 30 degrees out. And it thermally shocked it and cracked the tub, so I had to get rid of it. So now what I recommend is to shut it off probably the day before. You know, I set mine about 100 degrees, 97 degrees. I shut it off like a day before, let the water cool down to 60, 70 degrees, and then I drain it slowly and I let it take in a little bit of cold air when it's doing it. It was probably about 65 degrees when I started it. And right now the air temperature inside is about 61. And it takes, 45 minutes or so to drain out, nice and slow. Another thing I suggest, and even more so if you leave it running all winter long, is to put in some kind of rodent poison or rodent traps. More traps, and if you got pets around the house, you don't want them to get into the poison. But you don't want the mice in there tearing things up because they like to go into the warm when it's getting cold out. So mine drains out through that white hose and into a garden hose. So here it is draining out. It takes about 45 minutes to drain my 300 gallon or so hot tub. Okay, so most of the water's out. Just got a little bit to remove. It's about 50 degrees in there, about 40 degrees outside, so 10 degrees is not a big deal. You just don't want to move the temperature 80, 100 degrees real quick. So what I normally do to get the rest of this water out, you can either use a shop vac, which you have to empty a bunch of times, or I use this pump that I got at a garage sale for 15 bucks, and it works pretty good. Moving it out pretty fast, which I'll shut it off every occasionally and just let it cool down slowly. Okay, so I use that pump to get out 95% of the water, just a little bit in the bottom. And it says it's 51 degrees in here and 40 out here, so 11 degrees is not a big deal to open this up now and do the rest. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I do in my tub. Your tub may be different, but this is kind of what you probably are going to go through. It's pretty much the same way. Is first I'm going to take the filters out. Mine just has a little strainer. And 2 pleated filters. That's pretty dirty. Here's the second pleated filter. Now you can't see it, but there's my pump, and the water housing's back in there, and there's a little thumb screw plug that I need to pull out. So I'm going to pull that out. Okay, so I pulled the plug out. Here it is right here. And I just happen to have another housing, an old one. And it just shows you it's back in there like this. And I had to unscrew it from reaching back in there. And I'll have to suck the water out of that. Okay, this is where I start using the shop vac. It's just a 6-gallon shop vac. And I'm going to start by just sucking the water out of each of those orifices and go around 2 or 3 times till I don't feel any more water coming through into the vacuum. Okay, so you kind of know when you're done, when you don't feel the water coming through the vacuum hose anymore, and you go around a few times. Again, your tub's going to be different, but you want to just make sure you try to get most of the water out. You don't have to get 100% out, you just have to get it out so if it expands and when it freezes, it doesn't crack anything. Something else I forgot to tell you, you might want to take your filter off and dump your vacuum before you put any water in. So now I've got a bunch of trash in there too. I didn't realize it was in there, but you definitely don't want to have your foam filter on because that'll just get wet. You don't need it to get wet and then have to clean that too. So I'm going to dump this out and then go around one more time. Okay, so one last thing I like to do that you maybe not have to do is I duct tape this small hose on the end of the vacuum cleaner so I can suck out from the pump housing down under here. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so I got 100% of the water out. Got it out of all the pipes. Down here, I put the plug back in the housing. Put in a little bit of a little trap with a little bit of peanut butter to catch any mice. I'll check that over the next couple of weeks, make sure I don't have any little critters. Like I said, you don't want to thermally shock it like I did my last tub. I've been doing this for 15 years with this tub. I live in Iowa. Haven't had any issues with this weather. I will put the cover on and then I'll put plastic over the top of that. A couple layers of plastic tarps, and then I will bungee it around the outside to keep the wind from blowing it off. And it should be good for the winter. Okay, thanks for watching.